"You're marrying up, Evan," her father said, handing me the prenup like he was gifting me a tie. "It's nothing personal, just protection." I was 26, flat broke, in love, and naive. I remember the exact moment I signed that document. Pen trembling slightly, Jenna watching like it wasn't a big deal. Her parents had framed it as a formality, something smart couples do. But it wasn't mutual. It was a one-way fortress protecting her wealth from me. I'd built nothing yet. Just a junior systems engineer with dreams and debt. But I signed. Not because I agreed with it, but because I didn't want to lose her. My name is Evan Hall. I'm 38 now. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for years I pretended that prenup didn't matter. But it did. It was the first crack in a foundation I was too blinded to see was already breaking. Back then I thought Jenna was different. She was warm, supportive, and funny in a sharp, observant way. We met at a friend's lake house, and I was hooked after 10 minutes. Her family owned 5 car dealerships and 2 vacation properties. Mine owned a single, rusted-out lawnmower we shared between neighbors. We were in love, sure, but she came from polished privilege. I came from budget casseroles and duct tape. Still, I believed love could transcend money. After the wedding, we moved into a small condo she helped us buy with a down payment gift from her parents. I kept grinding, picking up freelance tech gigs at night. I knew I had to build something, not just to prove myself, but to feel like I wasn't living in someone else's house. I spent years building, quietly, obsessively, a startup, then 2. Most failed. 1 didn't. By the time I hit 35, I was worth 7 figures. Not thanks to luck, but to long nights, missed holidays, and risking everything I had on ideas no one believed in. Then her family came knocking, first with smiles, then with pressure. "We should revisit that old prenup," her dad said over bourbon, like he was suggesting golf. That's when I knew. They never believed I'd make it. Now they wanted in. But I had other plans. "You've changed," Jenna said one night, arms crossed, standing in the doorway like she was delivering a verdict. "You're not the same man I married." I didn't flinch. I just looked at her, because she was right. I had changed. I wasn't hungry anymore. I wasn't chasing approval. I wasn't saying yes to keep the peace. I was done pretending that their version of respect was something I still needed. But I didn't say any of that. I just asked, "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "You're different. You're distant. All these new people, business calls at night. Sometimes I feel like you're building a life without me." That hit harder than I expected. Because the truth was, I had been pulling away. Not out of resentment, but self-preservation. I was starting to see the cracks everywhere. In how her mom called me lucky with a smile. In how her dad never once asked how I built my company. Just what it was worth. They never saw the years of failure, of debt, of silence and risk. Only the money. And now Jenna seemed to be echoing their lines. Around this time, I started getting the subtle pushes. Over dinner, her father leaned in and said, "You know, you've done well. But that prenup, it sends the wrong message now." I played dumb. "Message to who?" "To Jenna. To us," he said, swirling his wine. "It says you don't trust her, that you're still keeping score." What he meant was, "We didn't think you'd succeed, and now we want to redo." Jenna followed it up the next morning. "It just feels unnecessary now. Don't you trust me?" I looked at her and said what I'd been holding back for years. "I trusted you enough to sign it when I had nothing. Why is that not enough now that I have something?" She didn't answer, just left the room. Something in our marriage shifted after that. Quiet but real. They weren't asking anymore. They were circling, testing, plotting. And then one day I got a call I wasn't supposed to get. From her sister. What she said changed everything. It was Jenna's younger sister, Emily. We weren't close, but we'd always been cordial. That afternoon, she called out of nowhere. "Evan," she said, voice low, "I don't want to get in the middle, but you need to protect yourself." My stomach tightened. "What are you talking about?" She hesitated, then said it straight. "They're planning something. I overheard your name, Jenna. Mom, Dad. It wasn't good. I stayed silent. Let her fill the space. They were talking about how the prenup's outdated. About how if you really loved Jenna, you'd tear it up. But then, it turned darker. Your finances. Your company. Jenna said she could claim part of it if the prenup got thrown out in court. I was quiet for a beat too long. Emily added, I thought you should know. You've always treated her well. You don't deserve this. She hung up before I could ask more. I sat in my office, phone still warm in my hand, and stared at the glass wall in front of me. For a long time, I didn't move. Then I opened the drawer. Inside were two things I hadn't looked at in years, the prenup agreement and my marriage license. I flipped through the prenup. Every clause. Every signature. My initials on every page. It was airtight. Back then, I wasn't rich enough to have a lawyer, but I still got one. Paid $600 I didn't have just to be sure. Now, that $600 might have been the best investment I ever made. Jenna never knew I did that. She assumed I just signed it blind. Her family assumed I was too eager, too desperate, too grateful to challenge anything. They never realized that even then I was building not just a career, but a defense. That night, Jenna came home cheerful, oddly warm. She kissed me on the cheek and asked what I wanted for dinner. I watched her move around the kitchen like nothing had changed. But everything had. She didn't know what I knew. She didn't know I'd started recording. The first time she said it, it was casual. Offhand. Over wine. If you love me, Evan, prove it. Get rid of the prenup. I pretended to laugh like it was a joke. She smiled back like she hadn't meant it. But I knew better. That was the test balloon. Float the idea. See if I bite? I didn't. The second time? It came with tears. We were in the living room. She'd made dinner. Lit candles. Music playing low. Halfway through the meal, she reached across the table and said softly, I don't want that paper between us anymore. I didn't answer. Just looked at her. The candles flickered and so did something in her expression. She was watching me carefully, waiting for me to give something up. But I didn't. I don't get it, she said finally, voice rising just a little. You don't need the contract anymore. We're a team, right? I set down my fork. You didn't say that when your father made me sign it in his office, Jenna. You said it was just paperwork. So let's not pretend now that it's about love. Her mouth opened, then closed. No response. Because there wasn't one. She wasn't asking for reassurance. She was laying groundwork. And I had enough experience in tech to recognize when someone was trying to rewrite history line by line. Over the next 2 weeks, the campaign escalated. Random conversations where she'd drop phrases like, we should revisit our commitments, or my friend Rachel just updated her marriage agreement, they're so much stronger now. Every word calculated. Delivered with a smile. But I wasn't the same guy they'd cornered in that office years ago. I'd spent a decade in silence, listening. Building. Watching. I said nothing. I changed nothing. And that silence started driving her crazy. Because people like Jenna and her parents don't know what to do with someone they can't manipulate. Then, one afternoon, I came home early. Her phone was on the counter. Open. Unlocked. A message preview from a number I didn't recognize lit up the screen. Did you talk to the lawyer yet? If you want half, we need to move now. She was in the shower when I saw the message. I didn't touch the phone. Didn't unlock anything. Didn't need to. Just read that single line. Did you talk to the lawyer yet? If you want half, we need to move now. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I just stood there, staring at the glow of the screen until it faded to black. She came out 15 minutes later in a towel, humming like nothing had happened. I looked at her differently that night, not like a stranger, but like an opponent. One who thought she was still playing offense. The next morning, I waited until she left for yoga and called a friend of mine, Charles. Family law attorney. Sharp. Discreet. Evan, he said, what's going on? I think my wife's setting up a move on the prenup. I need to know how solid it really is. Charles chuckled, but not because he thought it was funny. People only ask that when they already know the answer. I had it reviewed when I signed, I said. But I want it combed over. Again. And I want everything she's touched financially flagged. Any joint accounts. Any shared holdings. No problem. You expecting a divorce? I'm expecting a storm, I said. I want to make sure I'm already inside when it hits. He didn't ask anything else. That evening, Jenna came home with takeout and a bright, fake smile. She kissed my cheek, asked how my day was. I played along. But something shifted. She could feel it. Midway through dinner, she finally asked, are you okay? You've been quiet. I looked right at her. Should I be worried about anything? I asked. She blinked. Like what? You tell me. A long pause. Then, Evan, if you saw that message, it wasn't what it looked like. So she knew. And she admitted it. I stood, picked up my plate and said calmly, "You were never supposed to let me see the message. That's what you mean." She didn't deny it. She just sat there watching the person she thought she married slip out of her control. 3 days later, her family staged what they called a talk. It wasn't casual. Richard, her father, texted me and said, "We'd love to have you both over for dinner, just to chat." Elaine followed it up with, "No pressure, just family stuff." I knew what it was. A setup. They didn't want dinner. They wanted leverage. We showed up on a Sunday. Jenna was quiet the whole drive. When we walked in, the table was already set. Not for dinner, but for war. They didn't even pretend. "Evan," Richard began, standing beside the fireplace like he was delivering a eulogy. "We need to talk about what's fair." Elaine nodded solemnly, hands folded like a school principal. Jenna didn't make eye contact. "Fair," I repeated, lowering myself into the leather chair they'd clearly chosen for me. "You mean the prenup?" Richard gave a small, patient smile. "We all know that document was signed when you were still getting on your feet. Times have changed. You've built something amazing, and we think it's time for a real partnership. One that reflects trust." Trust. That word again. "Let me get this straight," I said. "You made me sign a contract to prove I wasn't after Jenna's money. I signed it. No questions. No drama. Now that I've built something of my own, you want to dissolve that contract. Because it worked." Elaine stepped in, voice sugar-sweet. "It's not about money, dear. It's about the spirit of the relationship. Don't you trust Jenna? She asked her lawyer how to get half of my company," I said flatly. The room froze. Elaine's mouth opened. Richard's eyes narrowed. Jenna stared at me like she wanted to disappear. What are you talking about?" she finally managed. "I saw the message. I didn't go looking. It was just there." Elaine's tone snapped cold. "You're spying on your wife now?" "I didn't say that." Richard cleared his throat, trying to reassert control. "Look, Evan, you can spin this however you want, but refusing to revise the prenup sends a clear message. You're planning for a divorce." "No," I said calmly. "You are." And then, without another word, I stood up, thanked them for the evening, and walked out. Jenna didn't follow me. That night, Emily texted me again. "They're panicking. You handled it better than they expected. Call me when you can. I found something you need to see." Emily met me in a parking lot behind a coffee shop the next day. She didn't want to be seen. She slid into the passenger seat of my truck, hoodie pulled up, sunglasses on. For a second, I almost laughed, until I saw her face, pale, tense. "I wasn't sure if I should even get involved," she said. "But after last night," she handed me a flash drive. "What's on it?" "Screenshots, emails, audio." I didn't say anything, just plugged it into my laptop right there in the truck. The first file was a screen recording Jenna's inbox. Opened emails. Subject lines like, "Prenup challenge options? Asset tracing strategies. Removing LLC protections in divorce proceedings." All dated within the last 3 months. The next file was audio, grainy, but clear enough. Jenna and her mother. In the kitchen. "Elaine, he's stubborn. But that company isn't bulletproof. If it's in your name too, you have a claim. Jenna, I just need him to tear up the prenup. If he does that, it's done. Elaine, then make him. Use the love card. Or the guilt card. But we need that paper gone before he gets smart." I stopped the audio. Emily looked straight ahead. "I didn't want to believe it either," she said. "But I heard them. I saw the emails. They're serious." "How did you get this?" She shrugged. "Dad uses the same iCloud account for the home computer. Nobody ever logged out. I started screen recording months ago when I noticed things shifting." I leaned back in the seat, cold fury rising, but no heat in it. Just precision. "You realize," I said slowly, "this changes everything." "I know," Emily said. "I just wanted to do the right thing." I drove her back without saying much else. When she got out, she paused, hand on the door. They think you're the same guy from 10 years ago, she said. They don't realize you were paying attention. She was right. They hadn't noticed. But I had everything I needed now. It was time to stop reacting. It was time to start moving. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, because I was planning. The next morning, before Jenna even woke up, I was at my office. Doors locked. Phone off. Just me and a whiteboard. I listed everything I'd need. Financial lockdown, corporate firewall, legal reinforcement, and a paper trail so thick it couldn't be shredded. Step 1. Restructure the company. My business had grown fast, too fast. I'd left too many old protections in place, assuming trust would cover the rest. It wouldn't. I called my corporate attorney. Move the assets, I said. Separate holding company. No shared ownership. Reinforce the operating agreement. Something happen? He asked. Nothing yet, I said. And I'd like to keep it that way. He didn't ask more. Just said on it. Next stop, the bank. I sat with the branch manager, an old friend from my first startup days. Showed him my IDs, business credentials, and something else, power of attorney documents removing Jenna's access to anything with my name on it. Is this temporary? He asked, sliding the forms across for signatures. No, I said. It's permanent. By noon, I'd restructured the accounts. Business, personal, investment, all sealed. Joint account? Closed. Credit cards? Canceled and reissued under my name only. The life she was living on my dime? It ended in under 4 hours. By evening, I met with Charles, my divorce attorney again. I don't want to pull the trigger yet, I told him. But I need everything ready. Quietly. Are we expecting a fight? We're already in one, I said. They just think I haven't noticed. He nodded and slid a thick folder across the table. Then let's prepare to win. That night, Jenna noticed the first domino fall. Hey, she said from the hallway holding her phone. My credit card just got declined at the salon. Is something wrong with the account? I looked up from the couch. I don't know, I said flatly. Maybe call the bank. She stared at me. That was the moment she knew something had shifted. But it wasn't even the worst of it. Because the next morning I sent her father a formal letter. Request for repayment, $47,000. From a family investment I'd made in his dealership 2 years ago. Time-stamped. Tracked. Legally enforceable. They wanted to play financial games? They were about to learn what it's like to lose on a board I designed. It took less than 72 hours. Jenna cracked before her parents did. I came home late Thursday. She was waiting in the kitchen, arms folded, bank statements printed and highlighted. Why are you doing this? She snapped. The cards, the accounts, everything's locked. You're treating me like some criminal. I didn't answer right away. Just set down my keys, took off my jacket. You really want to talk about trust? I asked. Because we can. But we're not going to pretend anymore. Her face flushed. It was just a conversation. My mom. Spare me, I said. I heard the audio. I saw the emails. This wasn't curiosity. This was coordinated. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then tried again. I never actually filed anything. I never went to the lawyer. You were waiting for the right moment, I said. For me to drop my guard. To convince me to dissolve the prenup so you could walk away with half of everything I built. That's not true, she said, quieter now. But she knew it was. You stood there while they pushed me, I said. Let them circle me. You smiled while your father called it fair. You didn't defend me once. I was scared, she said. They pressured me. I didn't know what to do. Then you should have said nothing, I said. Not schemed. Not lied. Not tried to rip apart the only thing I ever truly earned. She sank into a chair like someone had pulled the bones from her body. You're not even angry, she said. No, I replied. I'm just done. The silence was heavier than any scream. That night, I moved into the guest room. And the next morning, I filed the initial paperwork. She was served 2 days later. Divorce based on evidence of attempted financial manipulation and premeditated asset targeting. With the prenup still in force, she wasn't getting a dime. But that wasn't the part that broke her. It was the clause my attorney added, airtight, unbreakable. Any attempt to challenge the agreement would result in immediate forfeiture of all shared marital property. She tried to fight it. Her father even called me. But they didn't know what I'd done next. Because Emily wasn't finished helping me. And she'd found something even worse. Emily showed up at my office unannounced. She looked nervous, real nervous. I debated telling you, she said. But if Jen is going to drag this through court, you need to see it. She handed me her phone. One open message thread. Jenna, he's getting suspicious. We need to wait until he signs. Unknown number, I'm not waiting forever. You promised we'd be out by April. I scrolled. More texts. Dozens. All between Jenna and some guy named Tyler. One photo. Him. Shirtless. In our backyard. I don't recognize him, I said. Emily sighed. He's a trainer at her gym. She's been seeing him for months. The dots connected all at once. The extra gym visits. The cold distance. The sudden push to destroy the prenup. It wasn't about freedom. It was about funding her exit. A new life without me but with my money. I leaned back in my chair. Not surprised. Just tired. She was cheating, I said aloud. More to myself than to Emily. Yes, she said. And now she's trapped. She thought she'd walk away with half of everything. But if this gets public, it's over. She was right. This wasn't just betrayal. It was tactical deception, backed by manipulation and an attempted legal ambush. And now, I had it all documented. That night, I sat in my home office and printed every text, every screenshot, stapled them, organized them, filed them under a new folder. Final strike. The next morning, my attorney sent Jenna's lawyer a letter. Due to newly discovered infidelity and ongoing financial deception, our client is prepared to pursue a fault-based divorce filing. Evidence includes messages, photos, and timeline inconsistencies. The prenup held. But now she wouldn't even get the car. Because in my state, adultery voids claims to shared property under certain conditions. Her lawyer called mine an hour later. You wouldn't really go public with this. Oh, Charles said. He won't have to. The court records will do that for him. Silence. Then, let's talk settlement. Too late. I wasn't looking for a deal. I was looking for closure. The fallout was swift. Jenna's attorney tried to stall. Filed motions. Demanded mediation. We didn't bite. My team filed a motion to enter evidence of infidelity and financial coercion into public record. We weren't trying to humiliate her, but we weren't protecting her either. Let the truth sit where it landed. Her lawyer folded the next morning. That same afternoon, her father called. Voicemail long drawn out. Evan, let's be reasonable. This isn't how families handle things. We can still salvage this if we all sit down. I didn't respond. What they never understood is that I don't burn things down. I let people burn themselves. And Jenna? She lit the match the second she tried to erase that prenup. Within 2 weeks, the headlines hit, not tabloids, but small business publications and local real estate bulletins. The kind of outlets that mention court records by name. Local entrepreneur seeks divorce after prenup dispute. Cites financial deception. She lost her job 2 days later. Some consulting work she picked up through a friend of her dad's. Quietly dropped. No drama. Just gone. Word travels fast when you've lived your life pretending to be pristine. Her social media went dark. Friends disappeared. Her family stopped hosting events, stopped posting dinners, stopped smiling for the camera. No public statements. No rebuttals. Just silence. Exactly how I wanted it. The settlement? Finalized without negotiation. The prenup enforced. She walked away with her clothes, her car, and a bank account I personally verified had under $2,000 in it. She'd planned to leave with half of my empire. She left with a U-Haul. And that boyfriend, Tyler, gone. The second the money dried up. Emily told me he ghosted her 2 days after the court hearing. She's been crying a lot, she said, but mostly about how it looks, not about what she did. I nodded. Fitting. Because the one thing Jenna had always cared about most was how it all looked. Now she'd finally see what it looked like when everything she built on lies collapsed. 2 weeks after the settlement, I got a call from Richard. I let it go to voicemail. He tried again the next day. Then Elaine emailed me. We know things got out of hand. We didn't mean for it to go this far. Jenna's not well. Can we just talk? Talk? Where was all this calm when they were circling like vultures? When they were pushing me to destroy the one document that protected me from exactly this? Now they wanted peace. Now they remembered I was part of the family. I didn't reply. Let them sit with the silence they earned. Emily called that night. Not with more evidence. Just her voice, soft and steady. They're a mess, she said. Mom's blaming Dad. Dad's blaming Jenna. Jenna's blaming you. Of course, I said. But deep down, they know. You didn't break this. You just refused to hand it over. I thanked her, told her I appreciated what she did. And I did. Without her, maybe I'd still be nodding through dinners, swallowing every casual insult and fake smile. Maybe I'd still be the guy they thought they could keep under their thumb. But that version of me, he was gone. Now I had my business, my freedom, my time, and no one whispering in my ear to give it all up for appearances. I got a text from Jenna a week later. Just one line. Do you ever think about what we could have had? I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back. We had it. You gave it away. I hit send, then blocked the number. She never responded again, and I never looked back. People expected drama. Friends, acquaintances, even former colleagues reached out after the court records made their quiet rounds. Man, I would have lost it. Did you yell? Throw her out? No. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't break a single thing. All I did was walk out and make sure everything behind me closed properly. I moved into a high-rise downtown a week after the divorce finalized. Furnished it myself. Clean, sharp, minimalist. No echo of what I used to share with her. I set new routines. Early mornings. Business meetings. Real estate expansions. When the money's yours, not borrowed through marriage or connections, you treat it differently. I didn't need revenge. I had control. And there's no satisfaction louder than silence. Jenna tried once more, indirectly. A mutual friend passed along a message. She's not doing well. Thought you'd want to know. I said nothing. Because I didn't. They only call you cold after they realize you've stopped needing their warmth. I wasn't cold. I was clear. Clear about who I was. Clear about what I'd built. And clear about the line they crossed when they tried to erase my security, rewrite my success, and sell the lie that loyalty was only noble when it benefited them. Yeah? There are no more lies to clean up. No more apologies to make. And no more family dinners where I sit at the end of the table pretending not to hear the jokes at my expense. They taught me something I'll never forget. When people only respect you after you make it, they never really respected you at all. The weeks turned into months. I never looked back, not because it didn't hurt, but because I had already mourned the marriage long before the papers were signed. I started investing more aggressively. Real estate. Tech quiet partnerships where my name didn't appear in headlines, but the profits stacked up just the same. I hired lean. Trusted few. Cut waste fast. Funny thing about betrayal, it sharpens your instincts. Jenna's family? I stopped hearing from them completely. They went back underground, avoiding press, canceling events. I heard whispers that Richard had been forced to sell one of his dealerships to cover debts. Something about over-leveraging on a downtown expansion that never happened. Guess he shouldn't have counted on my money. Jenna tried rebranding herself, new last name on LinkedIn, quiet consulting offers, sponsored posts about resilience. But behind the filters, she was still the same person who underestimated me. Who thought silence meant weakness? Who thought kindness meant surrender? What she didn't know was that every smile I gave, every nod I offered, was filed and stored like code, waiting for the moment it became useful. Yeah? My life is mine again. My business untouchable. My assets protected. My time spent how I choose. No damage. No lawsuits. No rage. Just a clean cut. And that clean cut? It bled them, not me. Because when you try to gut a man who builds in silence, you forget one thing. He's already architected your collapse before you draw the first knife. The final hearing was procedural. Quick. Cold. No fireworks. Jenna sat 3 rows ahead, alone. No parents. No lawyer this time, just paperwork, silence, and the look of someone who finally realized the door had closed. For good. The judge confirmed the terms. Prenup upheld. Assets protected. No spousal support. No claim to the business. She nodded. No protest. No tears. Just the stiff, brittle calm of someone who played every angle and still lost the game. Outside the courthouse, the sky was sharp and clear. I didn't linger. I didn't speak to her. I walked past her like she was another bystander on the street, not out of cruelty, but because she no longer had a place in my life. She had tried to erase the contract she once called just paperwork. Tried to rewrite history when it no longer served her. And in doing so, she taught me the most valuable lesson I've ever learned. The moment someone asks you to prove your love by giving up your security, walk. Because love that needs proof through sacrifice isn't love. It's leverage. And when people see your success as something to take, not something to respect, the only answer is silence, strategy, and exit. So I did. I exited the marriage. I exited the lies. I exited the circle of people who only clapped once the checks cleared. And the final revenge? It wasn't the courtroom win. It wasn't the money I kept. It wasn't even her collapse. It was this. I disappeared from their lives. Completely. Without warning. Without apology. And they noticed far too late.